This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Welcome to Marvelous Disney with Aaron Adams, the podcast that discusses the most recent doings at one of the more dynamic divisions of the Walt Disney Company, which is, of course, Marvel Entertainment. This is entertainment writer Jim Hill, and my co-host, the amazing Aaron Adams, and I are recording this week's episode on Wednesday, July 26, 2023. And Aaron, you want to point out that we may be on the cusp of a brand new MCU?
Yeah, and I'm not talking about Feige ready to relaunch the MCU. I'm talking about Mattel. Since they got all that flush new Barbie money, they're thinking about coming up with the Mattel Cinematic Universe. So we might have to clarify in the future which MCU we're talking about.
I know this sounds like a gag, folks. It's true. Variety just today reported that Mattel has 14 different properties in development as possible films. These include Barney, Polly Pocket, Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, and American Girl. So this is not a drill, especially on the back of just how big Barbie was over this past weekend. In fact, worldwide, it's not even in theaters for a week now, and it's over $356 million worldwide.
I want to say it's like one of the largest non-sequels original IPs out there. When I say original IP, it just means it's not a sequel to something that's already existed before. It's doing super, super well. To the point of, boy, if they didn't already have a toy based on this, they'd start making Barbie dolls out of the darn thing.
Okay. Well, if we could bury the needle in the other direction, something that hasn't gotten off to a particularly good start is the rebranding of Twitter as X. And in fact, you were pointing out that Elon Musk, at least as far as Marvel is concerned, could not have picked a worse time to do this.
Yeah, well, Elon Musk launches his fancy brand new X. He makes a proclamation. Everybody, welcome to X. And then like the very next day, I'm reading that Marvel has got a new comic book series called The Fall of X. Yeah, I think it was a couple years ago, Marvel relaunched the X-Men, and it started off, I think it was like House of X, and anyway, they went through many storylines, and now they're ready for The Fall of X, and maybe we should chip in and get Elon Musk the first issue of that storyline, Fall of X, and send it to him, just as a little housewarming gift or something.
That is an excellent idea.
Excellent.
There we go. Okay, before we move on in the show, folks, did want to put a request out there because, of course, San Diego Comic-Con is now in the rear view, and I'm wondering if any of our listeners managed to make it to the Hellfire Gala that was held down there in San Diego as part of this year's Comic-Con. And if so, we'd love to hear what this was like.
I have seen a lot of photos online on Twitter about the costumes. There's a lot of people taking photographs, and they had, I don't know, I want to say it was a pimp Dr. Doom, but he had like a fur collar. And he had like two bodyguards behind him also wearing Doom masks. And the costume looked really, really great. But it was like Dr. Doom is definitely going out to the gala ball in this event. So there's some really neat costumes. If you were to do the hashtag Hellfire Gala, you'll probably find a lot of those images. And Marvel was posting a lot of them on their own official account as well as it was happening. So yeah, just check out Marvel's official Twitter thing and you'll see the pictures there.
I'd love to take a look at the pictures, but would also love to get people's impressions of what it was actually like to go to the physical gala. But hopefully we'll touch on that on the next show. Now, later on in today's show, we are going to talk about the 6th and final episode of Secret Invasion, which dropped earlier today. Lots and lots to discuss there. But, we will give you all ample warning when we get to that part of the show. Aaron, fire up the klaxon, get it warm.
Yep.
And there will be spoiler, folks, so be ready. But first, the news. And the news today is that Marvelous Disney actually has a new sponsor. For years now, Storybook Destinations has been the sponsor of this podcast. And me personally, I've loved working with Tammy Whiting and the rest of the team there. They're good people who really know their jobs. But face it, folks, the only constant in life is change. And with that in mind, we've recently changed sponsors on the show. Although I have to say, Marvelous Disney's new sponsor is going to sound very familiar if you've been listening to the show for a while, and that's because it's Touring Plan's very own travel agency. Those obviously very knowledgeable folks can now help you book your very next trip to Walt Disney World and toss in a subscription to Touring Plans for free while they're at it. So if you're headed to Florida anytime soon, please check them out at touringplans.com/travel. Now, Aaron, you have repeatedly joked about the security detail at Marvel Studios, how they're always up in the rafters, ready to take out loose-lipped actors.
Yep.
We actually had something happen in real life over the past week or so that backs up what you said. Did you see the interview that Owen Wilson, who, by the way, plays the Father Kent character in Disney's Haunted Mansion movie, the one that actually arrives in theaters very same day that this podcast goes live, February 28th. He was out doing publicity for this Justin Seaman movie. And by the way, I want to stress here, he was doing publicity out ahead of the official start of the SAG-AFTRA strike. So don't give Mr. Wilson any grief. Anyway, he gets asked about season 2 of Loki, which, by the way, I know there's been a lot of discussion lately about Disney potentially moving films like Wish and thereabouts off of their previously announced release dates. And I was making some calls today, and near as I can tell, Loki season 2 is still going to debut on October 6th of this year. 6 episodes in total, which, by the way, is the exact same number of episodes we got in season 1 of Loki, which debuted back in June of 2021. Anyway, back to what Owen said, which, again, is eerily backs up what Aaron has been saying this whole time. The topic of season 2 of Loki comes up at the Haunted Mansion press event, and Owen supposedly freezes up for a second and then chooses his words going forward very, very carefully. Here's the quote, Aaron. I have to be careful here. The folks at Marvel take this stuff very seriously. Out ahead of the first season of Loki debuting on Disney Plus, I got asked what I thought was a perfectly innocent question. I got asked by a reporter, does your character have a mustache? Not, what is Morbius's job at the TVA? What's his relationship to Loki? Just, does your character in Marvel's new limited series for Disney Plus have a mustache? So I said, yes. And he said, the next thing I know, this message pops up on my phone from an address I've never seen before. And it just says, strike one. And that really freaked me out. I talked to other members of the Loki cast later, and we pretty much decided that this ominous message had come straight from Kevin Feige, and that he used a burner phone to do it. So
that's funny.
So anyway, again, I have to be really careful here. I don't want to strike two.
If you watch the video of that interview, by the way, pay very close attention to his eyes. He's blinking in Morse code, and he's saying, help, I'm in danger, help.
But the other thing, he got asked this perfectly generic question. If he could confirm whether the second season of Loki had primarily been shot in the UK, which again, a quick Google search confirms that this new limited series actually began shooting at Pinewood Studios back in June of 2022 and finished up in October of last year. But even revealing that sort of info, which is already in the public record, made Owen Wilson kind of queasy. So you gotta wonder what the hell is in those guns that Marvel's security team uses.
What exactly are you giving away by saying you had a mustache?
do not know what to tell you.
That's not a spoiler, unless the mustache is part Flurkin and has some abilities that we're not yet aware of.
Well, now, interesting that you bring up Flurkins, because in the normal universe, given that Disney's new Haunted Mansion movie, which, by the way, the first one with Eddie Murphy came out 20 years ago this year, back in 2003, but normally for this project, you'd expect to drive through your local McDonald's and there in the Happy Meal would be a Madame Leota or a hitchhiking ghost or something that was tied to the Haunted Mansion. But no, it's not, Aaron. Right now, if you go to your local McDonald's, it's just as like you have a 1 in 8 chance of getting a Goose the Flurkin toy, because they're right now giving away Happy Meal toys that are themed to the Marvels, which doesn't arrive in theaters till November 10th of this year.
Well, the toys were made, the movie was pushed back, toys were made, they got to push them out anyway because that's what's on their calendar, right? Isn't that kind of the case they're under right now?
You have nailed it in one.
Okay, all right.
That basically what happened here is that back on February 27th of this year, it was announced that The Marvels, which was originally supposed to come out on July 28th, again, the same day that Haunted Mansion is arriving in theaters, at that point, it was decided that it would get pushed off to November, which ticked off a number of people at Marvel who were very much looking forward to the idea that people would watch the last episode of Secret Invasion and then 2 days later go to a theater and see where Nick Fury ended up. But the problem here is that McDonald's had a choice. They already had these toys being made overseas. More to the point, they had promised their more than 13,000 franchisees that this summer you will have Marvel-themed toys to have available to entice people to get Happy Meals. And so it was one of these things where they had a hard choice to make, because The Marvels doesn't arrive in theaters for another 17 weeks. And the whole notion of, well, who's showing up at McDonald's and going, oh, give me these Marvel-themed toys, when, yeah, okay, a new trailer for The Marvels has debuted, but the disconnect here is kind of stunning. And for as many franchisees who are happy that, okay, you honored your promise and we got our Marvel toys to sell during the summer season to help push sales of Happy Meals, but just as many franchisees that are upset because it's like, no, this was supposed to be tied to a movie and all of the TV campaigns and that sort of thing. That was what was supposed to get people to come in to our restaurant. So
the synergy of when Disney or Marvel runs an ad for the Marvels, the movie coming in theaters this weekend, and then McDonald's buys an ad right after that that says, hey, and come on into McDonald's and get your Marvels toys.
Yeah.
So, that works really, really well. But when they're several months apart, it just doesn't help one another at all. And it seems, honestly, if you're a McDonald's franchisee, you feel like you've had a big swing and a miss. It's just been a waste of time. And you're a little more hesitant to go the second round with Disney because what if they delay their movie and it screws us over again?
That was the other thing, frankly, I was hearing, is that November of this year is when Disney's big animated film Wish comes out. And supposedly there will be toys tied to that will be, showing up at your local McDonald's. But again, just in the past week, due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, there have been discussions about, maybe we need to push that off to 2024. And people at McDonald's are like, not again.
Looks like Grimace needs to have another emergency birthday. Where's those purple shakes?
All right. Well, okay. So again, we were talking top of the show about Secret Invasion, which of course is built around the character Nick Fury, who, by the way, you can get 2 scoops of Nick Fury if you go to California Adventure. You can get the singing Nick Fury that appears in Rogers the Musical, which, by the way, is continuing at the Hyperion Theater. No word yet if this one-act musical is continuing past August 31st of this year, but there's also a Nick Fury that is wandering around Avengers Campus, that's sort of doing the meet and greet thing. And by the way, if you're an actor and someday you dreamed of playing Nick Fury, I actually have the audition information from the Disneyland Resort. First of all, you have to be male identifying. You've got to be between the ages of 30 and 40. By the way, this is the information for the singing and dancing Nick Fury. So,
yeah, I was going to say 30 to 40 for Nick Fury. Are we going back in time by about 30 or 40 years? What the hell?
Well,
but singing and dancing version, sure, okay. I can stretch, I can kick, I'm 40. Like they did from the SNL skit. All right, so
Okay.
There's one. Now, what's the other one?
Okay, well, now you've got to be a baritone tenor.
Oh, right, okay.
And have some experience in contemporary musical theater. But here's the thing of what you need to be mentally preparing for should you take on this role. Nick Fury is decisive, capable, principled, and has a wry sense of humor. He also leads others with attitude and swagger. So there you go. Particularly, again, if they opt to continue Rogers the Musical after August 31st, they're going to need some more Nick Furies, folks. So get to rehearsing. All right. On last week's show, we talked about how Ms. Marvel is going to be repurposed as a programming event over on ABC, with the first 3 episodes airing back-to-back on August 5th, and then the last 3 airing a week later on August 12th. But what's interesting is, due to the strike, this is also impacting where things end up, like, for example, on Hulu. And circling back to Secret Invasion again, the first 3 episodes of Secret Invasion became available on Hulu last Friday, July 21st. And they'll continue to be available on that streaming service through August 17th of this year. Kind of interesting to me that there's no info yet about when the last 3 episodes will be available, because frankly, if I watched the first 3 of this, I'd want to know where the story was going to go.
Well, isn't that supposed to lead you to go to get a Disney Plus subscription to get the rest of it?
See, this is why I do this show with you. I completely overlook the obvious. Hey, oh my God, this is the Disney company, of course. It's like there has to be money involved in some way. It's like,
I brought this up like a couple of years ago when Disney Plus started, first launched. It was like, they used to make TV shows and then they would move it over to a streaming service. And now they're making TV shows for a streaming service. And they're going to end up putting that over on things like ABC because they spent a lot of freaking money to make it, and they're going to want to get another spin out of it, repurpose it, put it out to a public who hasn't quite seen it yet. And sure, only give them half of it. And if they like it, well, you want to know where you get the other half? Behind the $6 paywall or whatever the price is.
Isn't this the heroin business plan?
Yeah, absolutely. The first hit is free. After that, you got to pay through the nose. Matter of fact, Ron Gold and I just covered that on 32nd Street in the next upcoming episode.
All right, folks. So we're headed to break now, and I want to warn you that when we get back, we will be talking about the series finale for Secret Invasion.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Before we get to talk about Secret Invasion, a quick note here. July 20th marked the one-year anniversary of the opening of Avengers Campus at Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris. Now, back in February of this year, it was announced that the park would be making some changes to its Avengers Assemble Flight Force attraction. This is the Iron Man, Captain Marvel themed redo of that theme park's version of Rock and Roller Coaster. Evidently, those fixes came online earlier this week. DLP Report tweeted out that these consist mostly of new LED lights, some scattered throughout the Gravity Building to give more of an impression of riding through space, and some additional fixtures to sort of accentuate the trajectory, so to speak. So nice that the Disney tradition of plussing attraction continues. The other bit of news that I really want this to be true, but comicbook.com did an interview with Thomas Hayden Church. So, the folks at comicbook.com are chatting with Thomas, and the topic of further Spider-Man films came up. Not a future Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, but rather a sequel to the Sam Raimi trilogy. And Church volunteered that, well, here's the quote, folks. "I've heard rumors that Sam Raimi is going to do another Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. And if that happens, I will definitely campaign to at least do a cameo in this movie. And I really want this to happen."
Thomas Hayden Church heard a rumor. For all we know, Thomas Hayden Church could listen to this show, hear this episode, and go, holy shit, it's true. I just heard another story about how they're going to be doing Spider-Man 4, and I was featured in the story as a lead. This must be extra true, because I trust me. I'm going to go say this in my next interview, that I have now got confirmed proof from Jim and Aaron on Marvelous Disney. No, it's just a rumor that a guy heard, and really, as soon as Spider-Man No Way Home came out, everybody was talking about, well, wouldn't it be great if we got another Amazing Spider-Man 3 and a Raimi Spider-Man 4 and yada, yada, yada. And honestly, there is so much freaking railroad track that needs to be laid down between here and Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty that there really isn't a whole lot of room or money in the, non-infinite budget that, especially that Chapek wants to cut back on.
Well, now, remember...
Well, half is Sony, that they split the cost 50-50.
Well, the folks over at Sony, especially them that ride herd on Spunk. We've seen the El Muerto project fall out. There's some very interesting things that are being said about Kraven.
First, the El Muerto thing. Didn't we say that they didn't even have a script for that yet? Isn't that really Jim flinging spaghetti to a wall going, hey, what do you think about this? And the crowd kind of goes, meh. And they go, well, all right, let's not spend any money on that. Hey, guys, what do you think about this? And if they get a little, yay, they go, okay, let's put a little bit of money into that. That's how it feels, because they're really slinging a lot of things. I mean, there's supposed to be the Spider-Man Noir for Amazon as a series for him. There was another Spider character, I believe Silk, was supposed to be an Amazon series over, the next couple of years. And we've got the Madam Web film. So, I mean, they've got a lot of things already in the works. And, yeah, there's a renewed interest all of a sudden, especially after they showed up in that movie. But if you think Marvel has got even an inkling of bringing them back for Secret Wars, don't you think every time you bring them back in between here and there, it diminishes the impact of that final return?
Oh,
you know what I mean?
You're bringing reality into my fantasy here. I just, I'm sorry. I want a new Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Well, sure, I do too, but I mean,
I got
the
spoiled.
reality. Yeah, sure.
All right, okay.
Yeah, if we get the new Raimi, it's got to be Malkovich. It's got to be the Vulture. I have spoken.
Given that we did get the Nicolas Cage version of Superman, in the Flash, I guess anything is possible. Yep. Okay, anyway, it's time to hammer on the klaxon because we're about to get into spoiler territory. So,
all right, here we go. Should I just leave it running, or is this... I'll turn it off for now. We'll turn it off. Okay.
There we go. We go. Okay, so we're going to start slow here, folks. Innocent question to start.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of the runtime of this one? I mean, only 37 minutes.
Yeah, again, felt a little bit on the short side. Would I have been more satisfied if they had married episodes 5 and 6 and just made it one longer continuous thing? You know, because when we hear about the release of these things, we get all judgmental. Oh, only 6 episodes.
Yep.
You know, oh, would I have been even more jaded? Only 5 episodes? What the hell, guys? You know, so there's a little bit of a downside to that because I'm, you know, critical. Well, we're not getting enough, you know. But then when we actually see it, I think it may have flowed a bit smoother if you would have put 5. But then again, you also have to have that cliffhanger of Fury walking away with the vial of the good juice. And they can't quite reveal how that's going to play out. They need that week off to make you forget who's not in the equation at the moment. So when they show up later, it's like, oh yeah, that's right.
There we go. Yeah. Oh, well, just so you know, folks, that the last 3 episodes were definitely on the short side. Episode 4 was 25 minutes long. Episode 5 was 34 minutes long. And then the finale was 37 minutes. Now, front half of the season, episode 1, 52 minutes long. Episode 2, 55 minutes long. And then episode 3, 50 minutes long. So in total, the Secret Invasion limited series was 4 hours and 13 minutes long. And to put that in perspective, Endgame was 3 hours and 2 minutes long. So we did get something of size. But again, remember, we talked on, I think, last week's show about how Forbes had talked up the supposed production costs of this limited series, you know, $212 million. Did our big battle between Gravik and who we thought was Fury, did that finally deliver the goods for you, Aaron?
I unfortunately laughed one too many times during that sequence.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I feel bad about it too, because I know everyone worked hard on the material, right? I don't want to, you know, just bad talk anything anyone did on that, because it's hard to do. And it was, I think her arm turned into what looked like Drax's arm, but because she's a smaller girl, they kind of had to shrink Drax's arm down, and it looked like a baby Drax arm, and it looked stupid, and I laughed, and I felt bad. Like I did something wrong. I'm guilty, right? And also, like, you know, Carol Danvers' power should be Carol Danvers' power. I don't know why they had to give the entirety of the current MCU roster to one Super Skrull. Couldn't we have given them 4 or 5 cool powers and let it be that, where maybe they want more in the future and you can play that thing out. But for right now, it's just like, here you've got everybody's powers that we know so far. And now she's just kind of out and about, which is fine. I mean, it's good to have a Super Skrull out in the MCU. We've kind of knew that was going to end up happening somehow. So not surprising, not disappointing. Yeah, I just laughed for the wrong reasons a couple of times, which was unfortunate.
No. I get that. Me personally, I mean, I was intrigued by some of the deeper cuts. I mean, for example, when she phased like Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's like, wow, okay.
But wasn't that a suit function that made her do that? I don't remember if that was her power or if that was the suit that was trying to keep her contained. You know what I mean? In the physical realm.
I will have to go back.
But it's all these things. It's like, did you have to give her ghost powers? Couldn't you just give her like somebody else's that would have fit the purpose? Because the fight really was not that long. It's not like she got to use like the power of Thor and all of the other characters all in that fight. She used maybe 6 of them. So, you know, why not just say, here's 6 heroes? It didn't have to. Anyway, it doesn't matter really at the end of the day. And the overall, I guess we're kind of lucky that Iger hasn't come up with the evil genius idea. You know how he said that the series kind of diluted the need for the movies, and so you're not making your money there? Well, what if they had done really a bit longer, more dramatic, a little bit more bang-up job? I mean, you know, like X-Files. Do 6 episodes of that, and then do a 2-hour finale in theaters. You know, like we were talking, the first hit of crack is free. What if I'm paying for Disney Plus and now it's essential to finish the story to do it the last week? You know, I'm waiting and no show this Wednesday because the movie drops this Friday. Oh my God, I can't wait. Let's go to the theater because now it's essential viewing. Whereas I was talking with a friend just a couple of weeks ago and we were talking about all the MCU movies and I was like, oh yeah, Ant-Man Quantumania. And then after that was, and I couldn't remember for the life of me Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Mm-hmm. It was only like a day later I went, oh yeah, that's right. It was Guardians because it's all just kind of blending together a little bit right now. There's just a lot of stuff, a lot of content.
35.
Yeah.
35 films. Yeah. Well, okay. So now, again, really moving into the spoiler territory here. So Gia defeats Gravik and then breaks into the area where the humans that have been Skrullified are being kept. And we get to see Everett Ross again, the Martin Freeman character. And then Rhodey in a hospital gown, which is playing very heavily into how people are now interpreting how long Rhodey has been a Skrull. So do you want to talk about that?
On last week's show, you were very, very adamant that Marvel had drawn a line in the sand that said there's absolutely no way that it goes any further back than Endgame because we want that emotional impact of when Tony dies and he's there at the funeral and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we see him in a hospital gown. And right now, the buzz online is everybody believes that, well, when was the last time Rhodey needed to be in a hospital? It was after the accident where he got knocked out of the sky and was it Civil War?
Civil War, 2016.
Okay, so if that was the last time that we as an audience are aware of Rhodey needing to be in a hospital gown and he can't walk very well. And I brought up a couple of shows ago as well the idea of maybe we use his electronic legs as a timeline of when did he stop using those, and maybe that's when he was switched. And right now, if he can't walk, well, that's a sign that, well, he hasn't been using his he doesn't have his electronic legs, but he hasn't healed all the way. As we've seen Rhodey recently, when was the last time he showed up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for that one shot? Don't think he had any electronic legs attached to his pants in that scene. So we can put a marker there and say at least that far back. But now we've got hospital gown in the equation, and we go, well, damn, how far back does that take us? And yeah, it looks like Civil War. So, Jim, are your contacts giving you the dirt, or are they afraid of being identified as the internal mole and they have to change the story a little bit so they don't get caught?
I would argue that there is a third possibility here. Remember, we have Armor Wars coming.
Yep.
This is also going to, oh, dang it, the young lady from
Riri Williams, who played Ironheart.
There we go. So remember, that's going to factor into this as well. And I wonder now if that's the whole point of being vague about this and putting this question out there. Because face it, we want some sort of an arc for Armor Wars. And, to the effect of lots of questions about, if you are in this pod for that long, is it traumatic?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you've been kind of stuck in a cryostasis or whatever since 2016, when you come out, you should be more changed than Nick Fury was claimed to have been after the blip. Right? You should really have some emotional damage that you got to deal with. Especially, you're going to be finding out that Tony Stark, your best friend, died in between here and there. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's a lot of emotional story that they could hand over to Don Cheadle and say, have a good time, kid. Knock it out of the park. And he could just have a great time with character.
On an earlier Mud, we shared that interview that Kevin Feige did, to the effect of how early they told Don Cheadle that this was something they wanted to do with Rhodey. And with the notion of there was going to be Armor Wars at the end of the road here, which would then play off of this. So more questions than answers, obviously. And speaking of more questions, we wound up in this finale episode of Secret Invasion with President Ritson putting that decree out there to the effect of all off-world born species are now considered enemy combatants.
Yeah.
You were talking about how odd the timing is that this episode drops today because of what was just happening in Congress today.
Yeah, so apparently former U.S. intelligence agent David Grush had confirmed under oath aliens exist, that we have a UFO in storage as well as alien bodies as well, and he knows the exact mailing address of the building where it's being held, like legit. But it was the idea that I have just got done watching Secret Invasion, where we're finding out through this TV series that aliens have been here for freaking decades. And then I'm learning on Twitter, or X as it's now called, conspiracy. I don't know. The timing is odd. But I'm also finding out that we may have, in fact, had an alien locked in a freezer somewhere for maybe decades now. And then at the end of Secret Invasion, our president goes, hey, by the way, if you ain't from Earth, use an enemy and we're going to kill you all. And I'm like, hey, let's slow this down, guys. We may have extra ears and eyes watching this that aren't necessarily human, and they're going, hey, was this one of the reality nature shows like Naked and Afraid, or was this one of them fiction ones? I don't know. I'm an alien. It's all new to me.
I do not know what to tell you. More to the point, though, and think about it, further questions here. We have President Ritson, but understanding that we know in Captain America, Brave New World, that we have President Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as played by Harrison Ford. So it's one of these things where, okay, so Ritson gets voted out, or does something happen? And more to the point, what happens with this whole all off-world born species are enemy combatants thing? There's some definitely interesting things dangling here that are going to get explored in further Marvel films and limited series. Again, circling back to the Rhodey question about when did he become a Skrull, I want to remind folks that October 24th of this year, coming out from DK, is Anthony Brezikin's Marvel Studios, The Marvel Cinematic Universe, An Official Timeline. And it's a 344-page book, and I gotta ask,
I'll tell you right now, Jim, you crack open the very first page and it says the Rhodey stuff is on page 392, and you just madly flip.
There we go.
Everybody wants to know.
I know. That's it exactly. So when we finish up here tonight, Aaron, I am pre-ordering that off of Amazon.
They're probably getting a call at the printing factory right now going, by the way, we need to slip in 3 more pages. What? We forgot about a thing, and people asked about it online, and we realized, oh no, we didn't do the Rhodey chapter.
Okay, well, here's hoping. But very much looking forward to reading that. And speaking of things I am very much looking forward to, I look forward to every episode of 32nd Street. So what are you going to reveal this week?
Well, I've always been a stickler for high quality. I had someone from a radio station send me an audio commercial, and it is the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And there's a list of about 35 things it takes to fix it. And the radio station is in a position where if they air it, they will drive away listeners, and they know it. But they need to make a buck. So do they risk, losing listeners for $9? What do you do, Jim? You like money. You like listeners too. Do you take the money and sacrifice a listener? It's like the streetcar. If you change the track, it'll hit your dad. Oh no, we don't want that. But if you don't change the track, it'll hit 7 strangers. Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? Pull the lever, or don't you? Next 32nd Street.
That, by the way, was the storyline of my absolute favorite episode of The Good Place.
Yeah.
Where they showed that being practiced in a real-life setting. And, it's a lovely show. But more to the point, 32nd Street, folks, also a lovely show. If you're not listening to this podcast, you're missing out on some really interesting, information that you'll never quite look at Madison Avenue the same. Speaking of interesting stuff, we have a couple other shows here at the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network we'd like you to listen to. We have, of course, Disney Dish, which I do with Lentesta. We also have Fine Tuning, which I do with Drew Taylor. And by the way, Drew has his own outside podcast that he does with Charles Hood. It's Light the Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast. And just last night, Brian Gunn and I recorded a brand new Looking at Lucasfilm. Social media-wise, Aaron, where are you now?
Even during the fall of X, as Marvel has proclaimed, I will still be at Azaprod, Azaprod.
I, too, am still on Twitter. I know I'm supposed to call it X. I just can't.
Sears Tower, right? It's always going to be Sears
There we
Tower.
go. No. I was making the comment last night that I'm one of those people. It will always be Disney MGM Studios rather than Disney's Hollywood Studios. But anyway, like I said, we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram as Jim Hill Media. Over on Facebook is Jim Hill Media News. And if you could do Aaron and I a favor, if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and rate and recommend, well, not just the podcast you're listening to right now, Marvelous Disney, but if you could also put in a plug over there for 32nd Street, that would be very helpful. Likewise, if you really, really, really like what you're listening here tonight, if you want to go over to Bandcamp and subscribe, that would be cool. That's going to do it for this week's folks, and we will be back soon. And how do we do time-wise? And it's... Well, we'll take it.